Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, as the UN Security Council demands an end to the RSF paramilitary siege of the Darfuri city of Fasher in Sudan, we hear a rare and moving testimony from one of its recent residents about the toll of war. Also, 2 years since M23 rebels at the heart of some of the most extensive fighting in DR Congo captured a major town of Bunagana, dozens of people are killed by the ADF, another armed militia terrorizing communities in eastern regions. And the Edina Bakatue Festival is one of Ghana's oldest and most colourful. We head to Elmina, where the first pre-colonial European traders arrived to get stuck into the celebration of 500 years of history. But first, the UN Security Council has called for the end to the RSF paramilitary's brutal siege of the Darfuri city of Fasher. Thursday's resolution from the 15-member council is a reflection of mounting global fear about the growing toll of Sudan's brutal war. Fighting between the army and paramilitary forces began last April, setting off a number of humanitarian crises. Battling around Fasher, the final city in Darfur not yet controlled by the RSF, has been particularly devastating. It could fall soon, and those trapped within would likely face a violent backlash. Little information, though, is making it out. However, we have managed to speak to one woman from the city who has somehow recently made it out of Sudan, but is still desperately worried about the people that she left behind.
So since like the past maybe 3 weeks, basically, the situation in Fasher was so bad, and there was no internet connection or like a way for us to reach our families there. And then from then, like the news starts like falling and raining on us, like bad news. I mean, every day we hear like maybe 7 or 6 people, relatives actually, being killed or bombed or getting shot by snipers. Basically, the snipers are everywhere. So uh the sad thing is just like we feel like we are alone and forgotten. Somehow we just go to the social media and hear nothing about it, Fasher or Darfur, whatever. So basically, the situation is very bad, and my family they are at the northern part of the Fasher. And our house yesterday was bombed twice, and children were fleeing from the neighbors to escape to our house because basically it's some kind of like a strong belt. And then they were running to take a refuge in our house, and then the bomb just somehow killed them and then cut them to small pieces in our front door. And my family now, they just can't escape because it's too late. There's no way to escape. Basically, for males like above 16 or maybe 15, and the old people, they can't handle it. They can't go in like on foot to long distances. So basically, this is not me. Like everyone is just facing the same thing, and that is just unbearable, and nobody is doing anything about it. Especially like the big crisis is the hospital is not working anymore. The only hospital was just saving people. It's not working anymore. So the people who are injured, the likelihood of them to die soon after 1 or 2 days is very high. Like most of them, the injured people, there's no hope for them because they will die of bleeding or lack of medical care. So yeah, that's it. I mean, like all of us, like I'm outside Sudan somehow, but like them, we are just affected by what's happening there, and we feel helpless somehow. And then, yeah, so I'm so sorry, dear.
South Africa's ruling ANC says that it struck a broad deal with several other parties to form a coalition government. The country will have to wait until Friday, though, to find out exactly what kind of unity government's been cobbled together. That's when the newly elected parliament will sit for the first time and elect a president. If President Cyril Ramaphosa is to be re-elected, the ANC needs help from other parties after losing its parliamentary majority in last month's election. In Rwanda, just 1 month before presidential elections there, leader Paul Kagame has reshuffled his government. He's widely expected to stroll into re-election, but has changed the heads of some key ministries. Clement de Roma has more.
This is the fourth major cabinet reshuffle in less than a year within the Rwandan government. The changes made by President Paul Kagame, who is running for re-election, come 1 month before the presidential and legislative votes on July 15th. They affect several key sectors. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Vincent Biruta, who has been in office since 2019, is now the Interior Ministry. He is replaced by Olivier Nduhungirehe, an influential ambassador to the Netherlands. He has been cited in a recent investigation by a consortium of Western media, Rwanda classified for his online attacks against critics of the regime. The Ministers of Finance, Environment and Labour are changing as well. Paul Kagame is also transforming his security apparatus. The National Intelligence and Security Service has a new chief, the former Attorney General Eva Aimable Avu-Agiaremye. Exactly 1 year ago, Kagame carried out a major reorganization within his armed forces, dismissing 100 officers, including some high-ranking ones for indiscipline, without further explanation. The shake-ups are a rare window onto the inner dynamics of Kagame's otherwise inscrutable administration.
Clement de Roma there. Now, Congolese authorities say that at least 42 people have been killed in the eastern region of Beni by armed rebels. The Islamic State-linked ADF militia has been blamed for the overnight attack in Lubero. It's claimed responsibility for at least 15 raids that have cost around 125 lives in the region this month alone. Now, DR Congo's east has long been plagued by violence from a disconcertingly wide range of armed groups. June 13th actually marked 2 years since M23 rebels, who are at the heart of some of the most extensive current fighting in DR Congo, captured the major town of Bunagana. Our Emmett Livingston brings us more from Kinshasa.
On June 13th, 2022, M23 rebels captured Bunagana, a town on the border between Congo and Uganda. The event was one of the first major victories of the M23, which is backed by Rwanda, giving it access to a lucrative border crossing. The capture of the town also preceded a string of battlefield successes that saw the group take over huge swathes of territory in North Kivu province and encircle its capital city, Goma. 2 years to the day since Bunagana fell, the conflict remains in full swing. The M23 shows little sign of backing down, and according to experts, it's establishing its own parallel administration in the territory it occupies. Congolese activists once regularly held rallies and vigils demanding an end to the occupation of Bunagana, but those are becoming rarer.
We have the impression that Bunagana has been forgotten, and certainly the people of Bunagana can now say that the notion of belonging to a state no longer exists there. We're asking the authorities to launch military action to win Bunagana back. We must launch these operations. Secondly, we have to strengthen our army, and this is something that the Lucha has always repeated. We told the President to strengthen our army to get rid of all the bad elements.
Bunagana remains the operational headquarters of the M23, but in recent weeks, intense combat has been taking place around another highly strategic town named Kanyabayonga. This town lies on hills overlooking the province's main road leading north to the nearest major city, Butembo. Controlling it would allow the rebels to push further north. Peace talks to end the conflict have come to a complete standstill. Fighting is likely to continue, barring a major diplomatic effort.
And relations between Niger and Benin remain tense since last year's coup in Niamey. This has left many merchants and communities being the ones really struggling to absorb the huge losses caused by a prolonged shutdown of their shared border. Our Harold Girard brings us more.
In the Nigerian border town of Gaya, a lot of people have lost hope. The fallout of diplomatic conflict with neighboring Benin has deeply impacted businesses here. Niger's military junta accused Benin of plotting with friends to attack their territory. Niamey has not offered any evidence of this, but has chosen to keep the border with Benin closed. A surprising decision considering that the frontier was first shut as part of regional economic sanctions over Niger's July 2023 coup. taxis, commercial trucks, and all kinds of sellers rely on the crossing to carry people and goods in and out of Niger. Many say they have seen a minimum 30% loss in their earnings since August 2023.
Whether on the Niger side or on the Benin side, they must find a solution. There must be a diplomatic agreement to open the border. I remind Niger's authorities, this is their job to guarantee security in this town and the whole country. We even have suggestions. We could open the border only between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. or bring scanners for stronger security checks.
Niger also stopped exporting oil to its neighbor. Oil was supposed to be an exception to trade sanctions and continue to be sent to Semes Harbor in Benin for sale on the international market. But a few days ago, after Beninese police arrested a delegation from WAPCO Niger, the company handling oil transportation between the two countries, Niger's authorities decided to suspend those transactions.
Harold Girard there. And finally, the Edina Bakatue Festival is one of Ghana's most colourful and oldest. Our correspondent headed to Elmina for a look-see. It's where the first pre-colonial European traders arrived in Ghana, and this year's event celebrates the city's transformation over 500 years.
This is the coastal town of Elmina in southern Ghana. The people are marking what would be 6 weeks of dancing, drumming, heralding the beginning of the Bakatue Festival. The people, many of them, war groups within this community will dance, drum, and sing around, making whistle stops on each location where the people who first settled here had their shrines settled. What they are having now is known in the local Fanti dialect as Korba Butu. It literally means the overturning of the wooden lid, which is what is used in buying and selling fish, the mainstay of the local economy here in Elmina.
When that day comes, you see the fetish priests with the Nananum parade through the street of Elmina, usher this concoction into the lagoon. And that goes to signify that we have pacified all the 77 divinities and deities of Elmina.
In African indigenous cosmology and cosmovision, festivals are very important. They help the people to recognize time and changes in the seasons as some of these festivals are instituted.
Colorful festivals like the Bakatue and several others celebrated across the country are part of the plethora of events that have fired up Ghana's Year of Return initiative, launched in 2019 to encourage people in the diaspora to return to Ghana and onto the African continent. Elmina's place in history is unique. It is the place where Europeans first birthed at the onset of the slave trade more than 400 years ago.
And that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us, and do so again. But before I leave you for now, we do want to extend our feelings of sadness for losing one very important member of the team, known as Laura Producer, or Lol's Small Hands, and of course Gwadlin. She'll be leaving us for a short period of time, but hopefully we'll be coming back. Please come back. Don't leave me. That's it. Thank you.
In China, being a feminist is a daily battle.
I find that China is like a black box, disconnected from the world.
Our daughter thinks that if she's happy on her own, we'll be satisfied. But that's not enough for us.
Some women carry their message on stage.
In fact, women need us to speak up for them.
Others are forced to exile.
The political oppression and just the civic society has been more closed up.
What astounds me is finally having a place where I can express my anger.
A new edition of Reporters on France 24 and France24.com. Special event, with weekly programs and special guests.
C'est la fête, le sport, et il faut que ça reste comme ça.
The opening of the Olympic Games is getting closer.
C'est bientôt, soyez prêts.
Destination Paris with France 24.
On France24.com. Click live. Find the stories you want to watch or to read about. Live news 24 hours a day in 4 languages. Explore the topics that captivate you. Are you looking for the latest news or to watch a show on demand? Follow us. Live international news is just a click away. Liberté, égalité, actualité.